Hello, making a red clay video, and I want to talk about real quick about my conversations from earlier from Facebook and what I observe psychologically, which is it's all very interesting. I talk to again about people who claim to be into philosophy, and what's very interesting to note is that in first of all, when YouTube and all of that started around 2006. I don't know, Facebook started later, but when YouTube started, I think they started in 2006 or 2005, somewhere around that. And at that time, I did not notice there were not very many Muslims on the internet. Okay, because that wasn't made accessible to them, and they didn't have the devices. Those people live in kind of like very, very difficult, very strained lives, and in poverty and so on. So they didn't have access to it. So Barack Obama then gave them access. All the people in third world countries, in India, Africa, Middle East, gave them access to the internet and also Facebook. So some of them, they are censored in regards to internet. They can't get access everything because they're censored by their Muslim religion, Sharia law, and all of this. But as time goes by, they get more and more access to it. So in the beginning, everyone who was talking about philosophy, they were people from the Western world, from the United States, Canada, Australia, England, and the other European countries, and also the East Bloc countries. And the kids from the East Bloc countries were learning English like child play. I talked about this before in one of my other videos. So it was remarkable for us to see how quickly they were learning the US version English, and how incredibly intelligent and articulated they all were and are. One of them is Christina Rod, coming from a country where English used to be not taught, and just learning from the debates, being highly interested, being highly intelligent and active, participating in the debates. She learned English like child's play and has a beautiful English, and very educated, and becoming famous even with this. So, and many other people, women and men from those former Soviet Union countries, that are very, very highly intelligent people and participating in these conversations. It's really amazing. So today, fast forward to the present time, lots of things have changed on the internet. The tone is not respectful anymore. It was respectful in the past. People were debating, and with some Christians that were not very respectful, but they were at least were not verbally violent. They weren't they weren't this they were not this violent, and when they were debunked, they would usually, that's my observation, they would just they would leave the conversation, they would run off. But now We have on almost every philosophy group on Facebook, there is like, I would say the majority of people that are in there are Muslims, either openly or in hiding. I see this because I observe, I see what they're writing, and I see how they are. Then there are also some liberals, some white liberals who defend the Muslim religion, but they don't defend it like tooth and nail. It's like they defend it only in terms of, yeah, but the Christian religion is bad too, so that they don't have to be afraid to be casted out by society. So they have to always say this. And yes, that goes without saying that the Christian religion is bad too. I never disputed that for a second. And the people in the Christian cults and religions are very dishonest too, and very intellectually dishonest, and all of that. Okay. But the Muslim religion is by far the most violent religion. There are the most violent people in that religion, with the most violent personalities and brains, and with the most toxic brains and characters, and the most violent persona. And so I see this right away, as soon as I see someone who's standing up for the Muslim religion and saying bullshit and totally lying, just totally lying. And that's okay with the Muslim religion. That's all okay. It's all part of that entire program. To out-trick the infidel, infidel. The word alone, infidel, like, I mean, I don't even know where to get started with this, really. Infidel. I happen to grow up in an atheist agnostic household, okay? So how am I an infidel? Who am I betraying by growing up in an atheist agnostic household? So, but they label me an infidel. And their religion says to kill people like me. Okay, so right there, I mean, the facts, right? They speak louder than words. And these people they know it. They're not in denial about this. They know this very well, how violent the religion is. They just use denial tactics in their rhetoric. That's all. And it's all okay with that religion to use denial and straw man and ad hominem and violence and all of these things, all of these tactics, which are not philosophical tactics. It's not accepted. And it's not acceptable. So I see it right away, and I see there's a whole lot of those people now on the internet, everywhere. They're like everywhere. They come in like swarms, and they flood the internet now with their terribly demented, moronic, stupid rhetoric, with their strawman, total empty arguments that they bring up. They're totally debunked all the time by truth, but they don't accept that. A Christian would walk out the room, but they don't. They stay. They have the most nerve anyone can possibly have. The most nervy and the most blatant, the feistiest of all brains there are. Unbelievable feistiness, and and they're not even, I mean, like, they're not even embarrassed about it. It's just amazing. It amazes me, the tremendous nerve that these people exhibit in these conversations, not a conversation, dictozation. Not just because of dick, but because of dictational. It's a dictationalization. That's what they are presenting to us, not a conversation. And I like conversations together, you know. We talk together. It's like one person talks, the other one listens. Then the other one talks and the other one listens. Okay, and it has to be balanced. That's why in talk shows people get heated, and the moderator has to step in and say, hey, wait a minute, now let's give this person some time too. In political debates, we have to have some kind of stop clock, that is being set, like beep, okay, now the next person's time to talk. So otherwise the one person would never end talking. They will talk everyone into the ground. And it's amazing to me also to see what people will do, what politicians will do, and the truths the facts they ignore, just to be famous and popular and win the next election. That's what it's all about, isn't it? With Angela Merkel and all of these people. That's the whole thing, the entire agenda. Trudeau and Merkel, those are the two people that I find them criminal, these people. Unbelievable. Incredible. Shamelessly exploiting, the media and people's minds and gullibility and all of this. It's disgusting for me to see what Angela Merkel is doing, what she's making out of Germany. I'm never going back there. I'm never, ever. No, thank you. No. Really, seriously, I don't want to go back there. Germany is becoming a shithole country now, because of Merkel and because of everyone who holds the other cheek, like the Martin Luther monk, It's like hold the other cheek. And he never did hold the other cheek when it really came down to him practicing his own philosophy. So, I'm not talking about Martin Luther King, I'm talking about Martin Luther, the German monk. So it's always misunderstood. I have a real specific problem with the monk Martin Luther. That is a very, very tragic figure. He caused a war. He had the very progressive popes in the Vatican assassinated, the two brothers that brought science into the Vatican. Science and art and culture and love and life and happiness they brought to Italy. And that was not easy to do, as just being two people, but they managed to do it. They were into science, they were not into that religion, they were not into that. They became popes because they wanted to bring love, life, and art, and science, and knowledge to the world. Martin Luther saw that, and I don't know what all went through his brain. Envy, too, and because they were becoming famous. and then he called them heretics and sicked people against them and had them chased and assassinated. That's the average typical thing in the human history. And that's why, when are we gonna learn? It's like, when are we finally gonna become conscious and not do these things anymore? When are people finally gonna get it that things are not gonna be done through violence? That you don't suppress another living being? That you don't see a woman anymore as a piece of meat and a possession? That we women are equals, intellectually at least. There are also some very muscular women. I got some biceps myself. I can defend myself. I'm also big and tall. But at least we are intellectually equals to men. And they know it, but they don't want to admit to it. Still happening in the Western world too. This sexism is still there. You see it everywhere. You go into a chat room, there it is. It's all men can talk about, whether they see this real intellectual scientist or speaker, and they all go, "Oh, look at her. You see, look, she's sexy. She's curvy." Yeah, okay. Some of them are very. Yeah, but what about the brain? Did you notice the brain? That's what I mean. And then if they're not good looking or not sexually pleasing, then they get insulted. But it's like, hey, you missed the brain. She was in the debate and she won the debate and she's bringing clarity, insight to the world. But you're talking about her body parts. And then, you know how it is with the rest of the world. So. And it is very aggravating for me to see. So I was watching Lauren Southern's videos. They're very interesting to me. I'm very disappointed to see that Amber Rose doesn't talk to Lauren Southern, doesn't even respect her at all, doesn't even acknowledge that she's there, totally snubs her. I find that very shady. I find it very disappointing. That's very disappointing. I don't like bias of any sort. I don't like it. Man, give people the chance. Give people the chance to talk to you. Give the debate a chance. Don't just snub everyone. Or are you snubbing them because you know you're not going to win the debate? So you take the easy road out. It's like, oh, I never wanted to talk to her anyway, So that way you don't have to face possibly being debunked. Yeah, that doesn't work either. Sorry. I like how Amber Rose looks. I'm disappointed about that behavior. Sorry. That's not honest intellectually. That's not fair behavior. So I don't agree with everything with Lauren Southern. apparently she's against abortion. I don't understand why that is. I don't know what, that doesn't make any sense. But I agree with her on a lot of those themes. And I think she's very courageous, very, very courageous woman, and caring. So that's what matters. And then through Lauren Southern, I came across the video, an interview with Yasmin Mohammed, a very amazing woman, courageous activist who speaks out against Islam, who grew up with Islam, and her mother made her put up with that, and her mother even threatened to kill her. She had to distance herself from all of this. She had to get out of that. And some people helped her also to get out of there alive. And that's very good. Some people from the CIA helped her get out of it. And I know that there are some caring people in the CIA, and I'm deeply grateful for that. It would be a disaster if there were only people who are only in it for themselves. So I'm very grateful that there are some kind and caring people in the CIA. Very grateful to all of you. And I sent you a heart. This is not a heart shaped, but it is a compacted heart. It is modern art that I'm making here. That is very nice, the way this feels. Sending all of you a heart, all of you caring people who are making the world a better place. And to Yasmin Mohammed for having so much courage to stand up against this entire religion, stand up to her mother and stepfather and all of these people, and speak out and take all of these things off, the hijab and the chador, and break free from all of that. Very courageous woman. Amazing that she took all of that off and freed herself, and was immediately relieved when the people from the CIA came to help her. And she even said that, once she broke free from it, then she was faced with this question, who am I now? Because that religion has molded itself into her brain, and of course identity also. That's what they're doing. That's what religious people do. They inject that into their children's identity. That's a real crime to do this. And so she talked about that too, the psychological aspects of it. And that's what probably some people fear more than anything else. That's why this is important to talk about it, about this identity thing, Who am I without that religion? And let me tell you who you are. You are a living being, okay? And precious and beautiful and lovely. You don't need a religion to give you an identity. You don't need anything to give you an identity. You already exist, right? We don't even need William Shakespeare to say, I think, therefore I am. I breathe, therefore I am. I suffer, therefore I am. We don't even need that. We don't need to prove to ourselves all the time that I exist. You already exist, and you don't need to even focus on that. Go into nature and feel the oneness and the dissolution of the self into the trees. That's true liberation. We are animals. We are equals to all of our animal cousins. That's what matters, that we know that. And that we practice compassion for all living beings. That's the meaning of life. And to free oneself, like all these courageous people have done it. Yasmin and Basim. And Salman Rushdie. And many other people. Several other people that broke free from it. And everyone who was undercover helping women to get out of Iraq and Iran and any of these terrible regimes. And also my deep respect also goes to the Saudi prince who is getting Islam to be dissolved. It frees everyone, including those who cling to it with hands and feet and who think that their identity depends on it. They will benefit from the liberation as well. All of you will benefit from it. Existence. Just because we in the West we have problems doesn't mean that that these oppressing regimes get some kind of free ticket or something to continue what they're doing. No. We all have problems. But how can you heal those problems if you're living in an oppressive regime? You first of all have to dissolve the oppressive regime and the oppressive religions. That has to be dissolved. Then you can introspect. Then you can do the healing work, as we all are in the process, trying to heal, trying to figure things out. Well, in the West, at least, they have meditation and they have learned some tools that liberate us, that free us, and tools that we can use to ponder and to meditate and to become aware. Breathing tools, awareness tools. And then we need to also question those tools and modalities as well. We need to question our language, as I was talking about this on Facebook earlier to someone. Language is in a constant flow, constant reshaping, because language is a very elemental educator in our societies. Language, not just the different languages, but language itself, linguistics, using specific terminology. We need to phase out all religious terminology. It keeps people stuck. We need to phase out sexist terminology, speciesist terminology. It needs to be recycled. And we need to all together make an effort to reshape our language. Because the way I talk, sometimes I might even use the F word, which is wrong, you know, I want to work on that. I want to work on the anger. But in general, I really pay attention to the vocabulary that I use. It's very important. Some people accuse me of being violent in that way and being ruthless, or you ruthlessly changed the language. Who do you think you are? I'm Nikki, and I'm changing the language. That you can do too, you know. You have that power too. Some people might even see violence in my art when this is all just living for itself. Violence because it's not conformist. It doesn't cater to someone. It doesn't say, hey, I like your taste. This here says, no, I don't like your taste. So the heck was your taste? Leave me alone. I have my own taste. And some people might find that violent or aggressive. I question that, whether that is violent or aggressive. It doesn't mean to be violent. It just is. I'm not violent with my haircut's not violent. Just because my haircut lives for its own purposes and is not attached to some kind of vogue fashion doesn't mean it's violent. It just is. It is because it wants to. That's why. This is because it wants to. You make art and you serve art. The real great thinkers, they have said, you not only, as a real good artist, you not only make art, but the art dictates to you. A lot of those people have seen this happen in action. I've seen it happen in action. Art dictates to me. You know. It communicates to me that way. I want to be made it in this year, it said. And that's what I do. And it says, I love. I'm a heart, even though I'm this cubic rectangular shape. But that's what I want to be right now, like a power bar or something. Delicious. Make love and make art. And heal yourselves. And then the world can become healed gradually. Okay? You guys take care. Bye-bye.